Well, hey there. So here we have Birdie Lite. She's ready to go. Got the last little detail done there. So I'm just going to do a quick run through of the features and kind of how she sounds. So first off, you have master volume for the magnetic pickups, master tone for the magnetic pickups, the three-way switch, so neck and bridge. Neck pickup is split coil, so if you pull the most forward knob, the master volume knob, you'll get the split coil, single coil on the neck pickup. Same thing on the bridge pickup. Logically it's the rear one and the front one, so that kind of makes sense. Then over here you have the master volume for the piezo bridge on a three-way switch. Now in the forward position the battery is off, so you can actually literally play just as an electric guitar. Even when plugged in with a stereo cable, you're never going to have the battery run down as long as that switch is in the forward position. Now beware, even when the guitar is unplugged, if that switch is in either the middle or the rear position, the back position, the battery is on. And the reason for that is because with the stereo switch, stereo jack, the tip is the magnetics, the ring is the piezo, and the sleeve is common ground. So the battery sensing couldn't be used in that way. So I've put the ground on for the piezo on a switch, which basically it just cuts the circuit of the piezo. But because it's not sensing the jack, it senses the switch. So if that switch is on one of the other positions, middle or rear or back, whatever you want to call it, during transport or whatever, your battery is going to run low. That's just unfortunately the way I had to wire this guitar. Okay, so it's not a problem though, because you can just stick that forward and whenever you put the guitar away, and you've got no problems. Now on the back here you have the 4-band EQ for the piezo. Now this back panel just kind of lifts off. You just get your fingers under there and pop it up. There you go. And it just lifts out like that. It's got a little bit more wire. There you go. So you can basically get into the guitar, into the guts of the guitar. There's a tiny little, I don't know if you can see it on the video, there's a tiny little trim pot right here attached to the piezo master volume pot, and that you can trim to match with your other guitars. Let's say you have two different guitars, the Parker Fly or something else that's got a piezo and magnetic pickups. You can adjust so that you're not, if you switch guitars, your magnetic pickups are going to have pretty much the same output, but the piezo is different. It depends on the preamp that's in the guitar, it depends on a lot of things. So you can tweak on that little trim pot to get a similar volume between your guitars, so that if you do switch guitars, that your acoustic amp is still going to have the same relative output compared to the magnetics. Little tricky battery position. The battery's in here on a clip. You just got to get in there and you pop it out and you slide it out, change the battery out, click it back in, pop it back in there and back into the clip. There's not much space in this guitar. It's very thin. As you can see, the profile is super thin. So finding a position for that battery has been a challenge. This works. You don't have to replace it that often. When you do, you just carefully pop this off, which is magnetic, so it just pops off. You don't need any tools. And then you very carefully, being careful not to interrupt or force any of this other wiring that's going on in here, you just pull that battery out, change the battery, pop it back in, and then these wires just kind of pop back in back there, and presto, the back's back on. All right, now what else? Let's see. So it's string through. Pop your strings in the back. they come through the block, which only runs along the back. The whole soundboard from where these strings are, which is still part of the block in the back here, but from there all the way around to about here is all soundboard. This bridge pickup is actually direct mounted onto the block that runs along the back. There's just the tone, or the pickup ring is on the soundboard just aesthetically, so it matches the other pickup, which is mounted conventionally with the springs and the whole deal. All right, 24 fret, truss cover. The rest is self-explanatory. Set neck. There you go. So stereo cable. If you use a mono cable, it works too, because it's tip and common ground. So if you just plug in with a regular guitar cable, you're not going to get your piezo, but you will get the mags. So that way you can just use it as a regular guitar, or if you run stereo, you can run a stereo cable, which will then allow you to use the piezo. So let's have a listen to what these mags sound like for starters. So I've got everything on. So that's the bridge pickup. Same thing with the bridge pickup, neck pickup, sorry. Got a little delay on there. Turn the delay off, so we just get, this is just straight through, so it's just guitar plugged into Mesa Boogie. Neck, bridge, both. Now, let's have a listen to that bridge pickup in humbucker or single coil. Humbucker. Pull it up. Single coil. Same thing on the neck. Humbucker. Single coil. Bare knuckle pickups, by the way. The mules, they sound really good. So now you get like, you can have, so that's both pickups in humbucker. Now let's pop them in single, both of them. Nice kind of funky sound if you throw a bit of compressor on there. And of course you can use either one in humbucker or in single coil, or both, or combinations. So you've got quite a few combinations there. Now, moving on to the piezo. So what I generally do, because I'm trying to figure out a way to filter the DC out. But when you do turn that on, here I'm going to just turn the effects off. If I have my volume full up and I turn on my piezo, there's a bit of a pop. Once you're in there, it's no problem, and there's a bit of a pop coming out because it's connecting and disconnecting the battery. That's what that switch is doing. It's turning the preamp on or off. But if you start with your volume down, no pop. So what you could do essentially is plug the guitar in, pop it in the middle position, and when you need the piezo, you just turn the volume up and then you quiet. So here I've got, turn that compressor off. So you've got bridge pickup, bridge pickup with the piezo, or just piezo. Mags. some cool stuff going on. So now I've got piezo and mags going simultaneously. Acoustic amp. I've just got it running through another channel through some regular guitar 4x12, so it's not really giving you the best of the acousticness. If you went through a full range PA or an acoustic amp, you could get a much more fidelity out of that. But you know, we all know what it sounds like when you plug an acoustic guitar or piezo into an electric guitar amp, which is basically what I've got going on here, just because it's what I've got going on here. So that's just the piezo with a little bit of effect. You can get it sounding pretty. Turn that on. Sounds really good. Of course, you can tweak on the preamp. The preamp on the back here, the EQs, is pretty much set and forget. You figure out what your sound is like, what you want it to be. If is it like too bright or whatever. Now, if you have to, in a live situation, if you have to change something during sound check, you just tweak it a little bit. But once it's set, you just kind of forget about it. They lie flush, so I can cut a bit of that mids, get it kind of sparkly. If I boost the mids, I get and so on. All right, so that pretty much gives you the basic idea of all the features of this guitar. Now, it must be said that it's not here. I'm just going to turn that down, turn the piezo off, and cut my electric. Now, it must be said that it's not an acoustic guitar. Although it sounds kind of much louder if I were to take an electric guitar, for example. That's what an electric guitar sounds like. So it's got a bit of a sound, which is kind of cool just for practicing if you need it. You can go for it. It's not an acoustic guitar. It's too thin. But what it is it's a resonant guitar. So the way the bent top works is that it's energized. When it's bent and glued down to the rim. It's like a spring that wants to return to zero, but it can't. And then what happens is the string pressure comes and pushes down on that, similar to like a grand piano. And that's what gives it the direct resonant aliveness. Now, on a dry guitar, you're not going to get sounds good, but where it really comes into play is when you throw a little gain on there. So let's get a bit of gain going on. Oh, that's the wrong gain. It's picking up on that note and it's driving it and it's just resonating and building on it. So any note, now I'm in the middle position. If I stick it on the neck here, on the bridge, sorry. competition. But it's much more resonant than a regular solid body guitar, which will get feedback, but it's not going to be necessarily related to the note unless you step right up onto that amp, onto the speakers, and you get the speakers working on the strings. Here, the actual soundboard works with the strings. So I turned it down for the video, so I could turn it back up again and get a little bit more oomph out of it. If I crank this, okay, my amp's a little noisy. But you can get wild with it. Of course, you got to get to know the guitar. There will be notes that are more dominant than others. That's the nature of the beast. There's going to be a resonance of the body. It's pretty evened out in that most of the notes will actually resonate and continue in feedback in their original pitch. Occasionally you're going to hit a note or a guitar slightly out of tune or whatever, and it can't decide, and it'll pick some other resonant note to go with one of the other harmonics of that note. So you get to know the guitar, you play with it, you jam on it, and you will find, I mean, I found when the first time I played it live, it was just, this thing was just alive. You could just like, you didn't have to be in front of your amp, you could play, and now of course you want a little less, you just kill the volume a little bit. But that's the nature of this guitar. If you want to play a Metallica song with huge gain and you want it to be clean and dry, don't use this guitar, use another guitar. But if you want that intimate relationship with the amp, this is the guitar to use, because it really does get under your skin. You can get under those notes and you can really make it sing. That's a lot of gain. I got really a lot of gain. You can hear the amp. I've got some fluorescent lights here, and the amp doesn't like it. Let's see. So basically, getting back to just the basics, we put it back in clean. Your tone is a 22 or 0.0022 microfarad Sprague orange drop on the tone. So